All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I got Ryan White with us. Welcome to the show, man.
I appreciate you for having me, Tyler. I'm stoked to do it, man.
Of course. Grateful to have you on. So just before we dive in, I'll give an introduction. So basically, Ryan is a 7-figure digital entrepreneur, influencer, investor, press contributor, and speaker. Ryan founded the globally recognized social media marketing company Social Revelation, which helps business and personal brands increase their digital footprint and brand awareness online. And Ryan's company manages the social media strategy for several 7 to 8-figure earners who are top performers within their industry. He has curated a personal online network around 500,000 people from all around. That's a lot. From all around the world. Ryan has also been featured on various entrepreneurial and business podcasts such as Entrepreneur on Fire, Underdog Empowerment, The No Excuse Show, and on the live television show Good Morning La La Land in West Hollywood. So, again, welcome to the show, brother. I'm pumped to have you here.
I appreciate it, man. I'm stoked. I know we're going to deliver some huge value to your audience.
Yes. So the first question we ask on this show is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
For sure, man. So I think for me, and this is going to be probably news to a lot of people, but it would probably have to be the way that my fiance and I met, kind of that background story.
All right. Here we go.
Yes. And I know she's going to be stoked to hear it. She's going to be like, how do you actually tell people about that? But nonetheless, I mean, it all started with, I was living in a small town, Warner Robins, Georgia at the time. It's a town of about 100,000 people. So again, coming from a town even smaller than that, like growing up, of 3,300 people, you just don't see people like, Nadia Bradley from Austin, Texas, kind of walking the streets, if you will. And, this is a shout out to her and a compliment to her. But anyway, it was very much one of those stories where, you see someone and it's like, man, it's like that kind of love at first sight. Like, I got to know who that is kind of thing. And I know that sounds cliche, but this is legit what happened because I'm like, I know this girl isn't from where I'm from. So, and I was I got to find out more. And so naturally, I connected and ended up kind of running into her at our local gym there, right, in Warner Robins. And so it was funny because I actually, the same time that she was there, her mother was there. And so I actually had a conversation with her mother, which is kind of weird, before I actually got a chance to speak with her. But nonetheless, I had an access point, right? I had a point of reference that I could navigate my way through. And so that's kind of what happened. And, her mother, kind of gave me her number, kind of introduced me to her. And, it was, again, she definitely played hard to get, brother, because let me tell you, we actually set up, our first date, if you will. And I was stood up actually on that date. And so again,
no way, that's awesome.
I come from a very small town, so again, big fish, small pond, like things usually go my way. Right?
Yeah.
The first time in life where adversity kind of slapped me, and I was like, okay, things aren't going your way. Like, and I was kind of scratching my head, like, this is for real. Like, she told me 30 minutes before we're supposed to go to this event, that she ain't going. And so, anyway, I ended up actually going because it was a sporting event. Obviously, people didn't know my background, and so now that I kind of, in hindsight, look back, I kind of see her point. Hey, a sporting event is probably not the best place to go when you're trying to meet someone for the first time. So she did flake on me, and but the whole point of that was literally, dude, I was faced with adversity, and I was like, man, this is the first time I've actually been shut down. So now she's got me, right? I'm hooked.
Yep.
And so, but kind of like entrepreneurship, man, just being persistent and like consistent with your target. So I don't ever want to say that women are targets, but in my mind, in this example, she was my target, right? She was my goal, like my dream girl that I got to get to know. And so literally, dude, 3 to 4 weeks of, and a lot of people would be like, listen, man, this girl's not replying to you. She stood you up on your first date. She's not interested, bro. It's time to like cut the cord and move on.
Yeah.
Not for me, right?
Yeah. Keep going.
And find out about this girl. And so I stayed persistent with it, man. I was super consistent. I was like, hey, just give me one day. One day, literally, that's all I need. And sure enough, it was about 3 or 4 weeks later, she agreed to go with me to Longhorn Steakhouse in Warner Robins, Georgia, man. And I was going to sit back and talk about it. She said it was literally the best first date that she's ever had because I was so like intrigued with getting to know who she was. She said for the first time in her life, she actually had a real conversation where someone spent the whole entire evening asking her and getting to know her versus talking about themselves.
Yeah.
And now, man, if I never would have like kind of pushed through that adversity and like stayed persistent with it, the same way that you have to do in entrepreneurship, because you're not always going to be riding a high, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be lows, and if you're not consistent and persistent and relentless with trying to reach that end goal, then it's never going to work out. But unfortunately, this story does have a silver lining.
Yeah.
And now I'm engaged to my dream girl.
Yes, dude, that's awesome. And even though she did bail on the first date, I think that is a good tip. If you can somehow get a hold of the mother, so I think that is a good strategy there. I kind of like that. That's smart.
Very, very real, man. I got her mother's blessing, which is huge.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to kind of cultivate a relationship if the mom doesn't like it.
For sure, man. I'm with you. That's awesome. So the next one I got for you is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
So for me, it's probably kind of deals with branding. People that know me in the industry, they kind of consider me a branding expert. So for me, my answer would revolve around branding and digital marketing. And the reason is because, in 2019, moving into 2020 and 2021, digital marketing and like social media and just the opportunity that surrounds that is literally so huge. It's such a lucrative space. And so I feel like a lot of people are literally brain dead and walking around like zombies just using social media for pleasure, right? You just see people just scrolling through all the time and swiping through their Instagram feeds. And it's like, for me, it's trying to get people to wake up, and say, hey, listen, you literally have access to 1 billion active users a month right in front of you. We live in a day and age where you can literally get in touch with some of the most powerful people on the planet through social media. If we utilize it correctly, digital marketing and social media, you can technically get in touch with anyone in the world that you want to.
For sure.
Grant Cardone's of the world. You go back and I talk about like Casey Adams and people like this who've interviewed Ed Milet, Andy Frisella, Grant Cardone. Well, how did that happen? He literally talks about how he did it through an Instagram DM. So this mindset of now's the time to get started. A lot of people walk around. Number one, they're not aware, so it's becoming aware that there is, opportunity around the space. Number two, people think that they've missed the boat. Well, I see Ryan's 28 years old and has over 500,000 people following him, and I'm, 31 and I don't even have an Instagram page, so it's too late for me.
Yep.
And the reality is, it's not. Now is the time to get started. So I think the biggest piece of advice for my industry would be to just understand the massive opportunity that now sits and awaits us, realizing that there's only going to be an upward trend over the next 5 to 10 years, right? It's not going anywhere. I mean, I think there was a statistic that came out in 2017 where digital advertisement just surpassed TV and radio. So what does that tell you? Right? What does that tell you? That means that all the businesses and the way that marketing traditionally is being done, it's now changing over to this digital space. So now it's a perfect opportunity for people to come in and take advantage of it.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't agree more. And and it's a similar story. I got to interview Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure you're, familiar. Yeah. And like that was actually from a tweet, I had interviewed a woman, and then she was kind of like acquaintances or something with him. And then she tweeted at him after the interview, and there it was. And it's as simple. It's as simple as that, but it just takes some like persistence and also like just being okay with no. Because if you reach out to Cardone, Gary Vee, and like all that, like you might get a bunch of no's, but eventually with persistence, like you might get them on your show. But if you don't reach out,
I mean, if you're relentless with anything, I feel like it's going to manifest and take hold, right? It's going to come to life.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing is I feel like people give up too early. Hey, I'm going to try something 3 or 4 times, and if it doesn't work out, well, I guess this method, I'm just going to write it off.
Yeah.
And that's just the wrong approach to take, especially in entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
So next one, and I think it's what you just said is relevant to really any business, just because digital online social media is for really any business at this point. But what is your best piece of overall business advice that's not necessarily industry specific?
I got you. So probably it's taking massive action. Number one, and everyone that knows me knows Grant's my guy when it comes to mentorship. But, the biggest thing that I found out very early on was the more action you put in eventually, Okay. And everyone's path looks different, but eventually it's going to lead to results, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you have to couple massive action though with networking. So 100%, I've built my whole entire business through networking, right? Through partner firms. So a lot of people know that Social Revelation has 9 partner firms around the world. So that allows me to sit here and talk to you, Tyler, for instance, in the business field, kind of be bringing in clients and making money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's this whole idea that, if you want to go fast, go alone, right? But if you want to go far, you got to go with others, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so partnerships and networking is huge. It opened up my eyes, honestly, into entrepreneurship. Coming from the South, and I don't know how far or how long you've lived in the South in Miami,
Yeah.
but born and raised here in Georgia, we're bombarded and beat to death with you got to go to college and get a degree, you got to go work for someone else, right?
Yep.
And that's all we're told. Both my parents, they've been teaching, in education, like for the state, for over 30 years, and so naturally, that was kind of what was feeding into me was, hey, if you want to be successful and be secure, you can go get you a degree. You can, become a teacher and you can coach baseball just like your dad did. And it's like there are other ways,
Mm-hmm.
but than corporate America. But in the South, I feel like we kind of have this blindfold over our eyes, and so through me networking, right, and taking my first trip to Detroit, Michigan to meet some business partners of mine who shared the same morals and beliefs that I did, and Alex, Lombard being one of those people. You start to see these 24, 26-year-old kids, doing 6 figures a year and working for themselves and having time freedom. And it was just like that whole veil that was been over my eyes, from my parents and everyone else, that just for the first time had been revealed.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. So my whole point is if I didn't take massive action, right? If I didn't agree to go get on that plane and fly to Detroit, right? If I didn't network with these individuals, I would probably be, a 97 percenter, as I call them, working a standard 9-to-5 job, getting paid and waiting for my paycheck to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then I think the last bit of advice, kind of touching on those first two, would just be, networking as you meet people with your same beliefs and your core values. It develops a support system that you need in entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurship can be a very lonely road, as we know. Especially in the South, if someone who steps out of their typical 9-to-5 who says, hey, I'm going to go start my own business over here, people, anytime you take the path less traveled by, people throw shade at you, right? People are going to hate on that because they don't understand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is told, and they kind of all circle and center around things that they're used to, the way that they're brought up with their beliefs and whatnot. So my point is if you don't have someone in your low moments that you can reach out to and kind of build you back up, okay, then your journey is going to plateau very, very quickly because everyone needs that support system. And if you network the right way, it can provide that for you.
Yeah, man. I agree. I think networking for me has been like everything. Are you going to GrowthCon to 10X?
I want to go to GrowthCon, man, but like I said, getting married literally March 7th.
Oh, gotcha.
What's going on, bro? I cannot.
Yeah.
Not just because of that.
I feel you. Yeah. No, I think that's more important.
Yes, it would trust me, be bad here at the White House.
I love it.
But I do plan on being at the next one that I can be at for sure, because
Got it.
in the world of entrepreneurship, networking, that's a great event.
Yeah.
As Grant says, you need to pay for access. And
Yeah.
this event is going to have some of the most powerful people in the world, so 100% you can be there.
Yep.
And if I could be there, I would be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, are you going?
Yeah, I'm going.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. You're going to have to FaceTime me or something.
I will, dude. I will. And I'm very close. I'm like 15 minutes from there. So I was like, I think I'll go. So my next one for you is, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Probably be get started earlier. And I think a lot of people struggle with this. It's definitely the first part of that would definitely be get started earlier, because again, man, people you'd be surprised how many conversations I have with people, and they have this great idea, this great business model on how they can solve a problem or help people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it never manifests because they're so scared to kind of branch out and get started. I tell people all the time who have 9-to-5 jobs, you're putting your security in something that's false. It's a false sense of security. Sometimes I talk to people who they have a big dream or aspiration to be a CEO of a company, and I'm like, well, dude, why don't you do that? And they're like, well, I know exactly what it is. It's the fact that you have false security that you like that paycheck coming,
Yeah.
in the mail at the first of every month. But the problem is that's a false sense of security, because time and time again, you hear people in stories about how I worked for this company for 30 years, or my dad did. And right before retirement, guess what? There was a big merger that happened and the company laid him off. And he lost everything. And so my point is you're putting your faith, your livelihood, your family, you're putting all those hopes and that security in someone else, another company. It's the same thing. I don't even care. Both my parents work for the state, right, in education, and even working for the state, they could be laid off next month. Now obviously they've been working for 30 years. They have tenure, so the odds of that happening is significantly lower than someone just coming out of college. But my point is, if you work for someone else, the reality is you're told what you're worth, and you can be terminated at any moment in time. Whereas for someone like me, I wake up and I go grind, and I go, you know what? The future of my livelihood, my family, my kids is going to be determined based on my efforts. I can control that. You see what I'm saying? I wake up every day going, it's in my hands, not someone else's hands, my employer's hands. And so for me, a lot of people don't think that way. It's like news to them when I say it to them like that, because the number one excuse I get is, well, I like my paycheck over here. Like, I know I like the security over here. And I'm like, dude, that could be pulled out from underneath you at any second. Like, why not go build your own security with your own hands by waking up every day and being hungry and go get it?
Yeah.
So for me, it would definitely be, knowing what I know now at 28 years old, dude, and you can mark this down. Tyler's podcast, he said it. I'll never work another 9 to 5 in my life, bro. Knowing what I know now, I will work for myself for the rest of my life, because I know the potential of it. I know how lucrative it is, the opportunity, and there's literally proven models even in entrepreneurship. If you follow A, B, and C, you will get X, Y, and Z. Same thing in entrepreneurship. You put in massive action. You network with the right people. You put in basically habits that will lead you to success. Get around positive people. Read an audiobook every day. Listen to podcasts, and just navigate your way. To basically have a mentor who is inside your space, who is doing what you already or what you're trying to accomplish, they're already doing. Okay, let that. It's called ranking up, right? And so if we have a mentor and we buy into this idea of ranking up, we have no choice within this formula to be successful. That's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And then the other one is just time management. I think everybody, faces the time management issue. Entrepreneurship can really pull you in all kinds of different directions. So for me, it's just, learning to better manage my time in order to set yourself up. And it's this whole idea of, the automate, eliminate, delegate. You've probably heard this before, but it's a strategy that you can, use to, write out everything that you do in a given day, right? Everything that you handle, and then go through and basically write out, automate next to it, eliminate it, or delegate it. Because the reality is, we should only, as entrepreneurs, be spending most of our time on the top 3 things that we're good at. So if I write out 10 things a day that I'm doing, the odds are only 3 of those things I'm really, really, really good at. I'm just average at the rest. And so the whole idea is, I can free up a lot of my time if I go find, hire, or just eliminate the other 7 of those 10 things that's costing me valuable amounts of time that I could be spending with my family.
Yeah, dude, that was an amazing answer. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's, I tell a lot of my friends from my hometown that like, and I don't know why, from a young age, dude, I always kind of thought that like having a job actually scared me. Because I was like, I don't have control over what this guy does, or girl, or who's ever leading the company that I'm working in. Like, I don't have control. So, and I don't know. I think maybe, I guess a lot of entrepreneurs, that's what led me to wanting to start a business. One of the things was that I needed that control, because I was like, I would have like anxiety, man. I couldn't like sleep, So like,
that's the thing, man. You never know when you walk in, like, oh, is he having a bad day? Did I say something?
Yeah, dude, it's not good.
It's just crazy, man, because, and I obviously won't mention any names, but I know someone now who's kind of taking that very first step into, doing something outside of a 9 to 5. And what's crazy about it is, this particular individual told me it took them 9 years to build up to this level of income that they were experiencing. And in their entrepreneurship journey, through networking, massive action, and just saying, hey, I am going to be in control of my own destiny, In 3 months, she made up after she quit. She is now doing the same amount of revenue, but did it in 3 months. What took her 9 years for someone else to tell her she was worth.
I love it. Yeah, man.
It's just the reality, man.
It is.
And, I do think there's a huge wave though of entrepreneurship that's about to like streamline and hit this country.
Oh, for sure.
And, you definitely want to be at the forefront of that wave.
Yes.
Yeah, man, good stuff.
Yeah. No, thank you for that answer, man. I appreciate it. That was maybe, I don't know if I should say this live. That was maybe the top answer on this spot, dude. That was good, dude.
I appreciate it.
So my next one's kind of going a little bit down a different route. So in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
The key to happiness for me would probably be passion in what you're doing. And I say that because one of the biggest lows in my life was around a time period when I was working for someone else and feeling like I had to do that simply to pay bills. You know what I mean? I had no passion at all in what I was doing, which leads to, by the way, unfulfillment, right? So every day I remember going into work and I felt like I was only doing this to draw a paycheck so that I could pay my bills because that was what I was supposed to do. Okay, and that was the situation I was in when I graduated college with my bachelor's degree in accounting. So a lot of people don't know this, and this is not a knock on Tennessee State Bank. I am grateful for them and everyone who works there. Just again, going back to being a 10-year-old kid who had big dreams and aspirations of running a multi-million-dollar company one day. Once I graduated, I was working as a bank teller. Because I was really the first person who said yes to my resume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so me at 21, 22 with $40,000 to $50,000 in student loan debt, I took it because I felt like I needed to in order to be a man and be able to pay my own bills. And that was a 6-month period, man, of no passion at all. I'm literally working, as people say, going through the motions to earn a paycheck. I'm super unfulfilled. I'm in a low place. I was a baseball guy my whole life, so someone who, was always, and not to boast or anything, but one of the better kids on the team growing up. So, I was kind of facing the whole question of, are the better days of my life behind me now? You know what I mean? Is this what I'm going to be doing and how I'm going to feel for the next 30, 40, 50 years? And so luckily, I moved from Tennessee back to Georgia, kind of found myself again and got my way back into baseball through, private instruction. And I was super passionate, right? My first love of my life was baseball. So the moment, 6 months of literally, I'm in one of the lowest places of my life. Within a month's time of me getting back into baseball and doing a job, right, and reporting to work is something I'm passionate about, changing kids' lives and making a difference in the world. It's just crazy how my demeanor changed. And at that moment, because I was passionate, all the feelings, thoughts that I had as a 10-year-old kid of big dreams and aspirations started to manifest again. Right? I had lost out on that for those 6 months that I was doing something, just going through the motions, And so for me, the biggest takeaway 100% in my life is you have to be passionate about what you're doing, because if you're passionate about what you're doing, you're going to want to spend more time in it. If you're spending more time, you're going to get better at it. If you're getting better at it, you're eventually going to become an expert at it, right? When you're an expert at it, people take notice and they want to be affiliated with you within that space. And so when that happens, naturally, you make more money. So you kind of see the process of how it works, but it all starts with passion, man. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, and this is not a knock on people that work for Cutco, but if you're selling knives door to door, working for Cutco, the odds are you're not moving a lot of product because you are not passionate about selling those knives, right?
Yeah.
So the whole idea is, how are you going to go make $1 million if you're not passionate about the product? As Grant says, you have to be convicted about your product if you want to move sales. And I feel like that's why, I have such a big success when I go out and I sell Social Revelation stuff. The reason is because I've used it on my own channels and I've seen it work and I've seen it change people's lives. And I've gotten the testimonies that I'm super convicted, even as a personal testimony myself. So when I talk to Tyler about it, you pick up on those vibes, right? And you're like, man, this dude, I don't know what he's drinking, but I want to smoke it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the whole idea. Because truth be told, bro, if you ask me right now, or even 18 months ago when I started this company, hey man, are you a salesman? The answer to that question would be, hey, no, I'm not a salesman. I've never sold anything in my life. But it's funny because now my fiance goes, Ryan, do you realize every person you talk to, you close the deal? Every one of them. And it's just crazy because I don't really pay attention to stuff like that. I see Tyler has a problem. I can provide a solution to the problem, and I know it works, and I'm passionate about it, so Tyler buys in.
Yeah.
I don't really see myself as a salesman, but it all comes from the passion.
Yeah.
So passion is my answer.
Yeah, dude. That's We'll just move to the next one. That's it.
I appreciate it.
So the next one I got for you is, what is the best book that you've read, and what's the number one thing you learned from that?
For sure. So again, 10X by Grant Cardone will be the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say something here. I know you're like, man, Grant Cardone. So have a little, and I'll just kind of throw this in as a gold nugget for your audience. But the biggest thing is like, you can have Dave Ramsey over here, you can have Grant Cardone over here, right? So they're on polar opposites. It doesn't matter who you choose to follow, but you have to choose and say that that's your guy and stick with that guy. Because what happens is, if you don't do that, Dave Ramsey says something, Grant says something, they're a complete 180. Who do you go with? You know what I'm saying? So to avoid that problem, you have to pick a guy and you have to stick with that guy. So my guy is Grant Cardone. Okay, so pretty much any reference that you hear is probably going to come from Grant. But if you haven't read 10X, by Grant Cardone, and listen to the audiobook in your entrepreneurship, guaranteed you're missing out on 30 to 40% of sales. Okay? It's just the whole idea of, going back to the whole formula of success. The more time and energy you're putting into something, okay, it's going to lead on the backside in terms of results. And so 10X is 100% changed my life. It was the first audiobook I'd ever read in terms of entrepreneurship. My fiance's best friend, actually, shout out to Kate, see if she's listening to this. She actually sent it over to me and was like, hey, I kind of know how you are. This is something we've been reading. My husband and I really think it would resonate with you. Check it out. And sure enough, I checked it out. Boom, first book, I'm hooked. This is my guy. And it just opened my eyes, to Pandora's box and entrepreneurship. I couldn't be more grateful. Yeah, man, I think that's really good advice, that to focus in, because there's so much content out there now. I mean, you do. And like for me, my guy is pretty much Gary. Like that's who I follow. And I love Grant, but I follow Gary like more so. And you just do, because there's just so much stuff. So I think that's when there's so much opportunity, then it can like slow people down almost, because they're not focused. So you got to focus in on one person. And if you do that, and that's huge, because and I think I've mentioned this before, but in a world where we're advertised to from all over, right? And there's so much trying to fight for our attention, right? Especially in social media and digital marketing, and everywhere you go, you see an ad. Especially for millennials, we can get overextended very quickly if we allow ourselves to. Hey, I'm going to start a podcast. Hey, I'm going to go over here and start a social media marketing company. Well, I think I want to step into drop shipping. And it's like all these different things that we're doing, and we become average in all of them because we're overextended. So I heard something that I think would really resonate with the audience, and because it's resonated with me. And it's this whole idea of, we try as millennials to get 1,000 miles wide, right? And that only allows us to go an inch deep. Well, we need to be focusing on only getting an inch wide and figuring out how we can go 1,000 miles deep in one specific area, because that makes us an expert in that area. And naturally, we're going to rise to the top and catapult to the top once we become an expert in that one area. Yep.
We'll move to the next one. That's good. And then what's your favorite quote and why?
So my favorite quote is probably, don't expect the change unless you make one. And I say that because, especially, with people that have known me from the very beginning, they're always reaching out to me going, hey man, I want to be a multimillionaire, or I want to make 6 figures a year. And it's all this talk, it's all this talk, and it's never backed by any action, because I say this all the time. People have the idea and they think they want to make a lot of money, when in reality, they're not willing to do what it takes every day to make a lot of money. Because naturally, as you make more money, you have more responsibility. And more responsibility typically requires more of your time. So I tell people all the time, I'm like, you think you want to make money, but you really, really don't, because I can tell by your work ethic. And it's just this whole idea of people who say, man, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Okay. Well, don't talk about how you want to lose 30 pounds. There's a proven success formula. Again, going back, everything has a success formula. If you literally stop, eating this way and change your eating habits, you can lose 30 pounds. But what do you hear? Oh, it's so hard. I can never do it. I don't understand how these people, Weight Watchers, lose 167 pounds. It's crazy. Well, I tell you, you can't expect to change if you don't make one. You can't say that you're going to lose 30 pounds, but yet you don't want to give up pizza. I mean, what are we doing here? And so the same thing goes with making money, man. I just hear people all the time. They reach out to me, man, hey, how can I make 6 or 7 figures a year, bro? And I'm like, well, based upon your habits and what you're doing every single day, you can't sit on the couch, dude, smoke pot every day and think you're going to make 6, 7 figures. That's the reality, right? you can't clock in at 10 o'clock, in the morning and clock out at 5 p.m. and that's the end of your workday and you think you're going to make 6-7 figures. It just don't happen that way.
Yeah.
And so that's probably my biggest quote.
I think that's big, dude, because I think a lot of people have like an illusion that like all these millionaires are just like on the beach doing nothing, like they've made it. And it's like, and I guess some people, you can create a business where there's freedom, right? I think overall that is part of the goal, but most millionaires that I know, like they are working a lot, like more
100%.
than the employee, like, so.
And I think it's more about how the millionaires online present themselves.
Yeah.
Because here's the reality, bro. This is you'll like this story. So we have a pool here where I'm living. Right, I'm at a pretty nice apartment community here in Buckhead, Atlanta, and super cool pool. I've been to that pool. We've been here now for 7 months. I've walked by the pool once. I've sat at the pool another time. So I've been to that pool twice. I posted a Snapchat story and an Instagram story of me literally laying back. The one time I've been there, like chilling with my laptop of me at the pool. Everyone jumped ship and was like, bro, I wish I had your life, man. Like, you're literally making all this money sitting by the pool every day. Like, and in my mind, I'm like, dude, you have no idea. Like, the only reason I'm at the pool right now is because if I didn't come here, there was so much going on. Like, I literally just wanted to go dig a hole and, like, get it. Because how busy I am right now. And so I just needed 30 minutes. And what they don't realize is I only spent 30 minutes just long enough to get that. But I feel like a lot of, like, big-time millionaires, like, if they take one trip a year, they make sure they document the heck out of that one trip, right? And they put it on social media, and everybody they present it as if, hey, this is what I'm doing every day. And it's just funny because probably the richest man that I personally know in my network, again, he literally has told me that, he has 2 daughters who are playing like college sports. And I think he told me that, now, of course, he gave them a life that, they obviously cherish and like they never went without. But he told me, his son was in, playing college baseball, and I think he made, 2 games in his whole career. Why do you think he only made 2 games in his whole career? And I'm not saying that's how every millionaire should be. Now, again, you got to understand, this is one of the wealthiest people I know. The guy's probably pushing worth $1 billion. So that's a big difference between the average millionaire and $1 billion. So, but my point is that's just ingrained in him. And he tells me, the guy's probably over 50 years old. And I sent him a text last time we spoke. I'm like, dude, isn't it time for you to retire? And he said, I will never retire. This is in my blood. This is what I do. Yeah. And so the whole point is, people, they think, well, if I can become, go make 7 figures, well, I'm not going to have to work another day of my life. And the reality is, dude, you're just scared of work. So you're never going to be wealthy. Yeah. And you can't be scared of work in entrepreneurship. Like, you got to be a go-getter.
Absolutely. And the key is, going back to one of your answers with passion, is that you got to like love what you do. And that's the thing too. Like, I live down in South Beach. So a lot of my friends think I go to the beach every day. I'm partying all the time. And dude, I'm working. I'm doing podcasts, man.
That's awesome. Well, I know you have big, because that's the only way you get over 1,000 episodes.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. But, and it was funny because, I think John Lee Dumas said this on a podcast I was listening to his, where he was actually being interviewed, but he was like, man, how did you create such financial wealth within podcasting for yourself? He goes, well, because back when podcasting first got like going in 2012, these people might have been putting out a podcast a week or a podcast a month. He goes, I was podcasting every day. He said 365, baby, I was doing a podcast. And so he goes, naturally, when you do that in a space that's relatively new, you're catapulted to the top. And now he's sitting there making, $200,000 a month off his podcast. And shout out to John Lee for that.
Absolutely.
Awesome dude. Very humble, awesome dude. But, and kind of touching on that just for like a final point, I got a DM the other day. I won't say any names in case, he's listening in, but, he hits me up and he's like, hey man, I'm thinking of coming to Buckhead here soon. When we going to party or something like that. This is a guy I graduated high school with, right? It's been 10 years. And, I'm like, hey man, listen, if you want to stop in Buckhead, that's fine and all. We can definitely cut you up, but your boy don't party anymore. Like, I'm busy running a 7-figure company. You know what I'm saying? You know how many times I've been out at Buckhead since I've lived here in 7 months? Who said it? 0 times that I've been out hitting the strip, and you would think, man, 28 years old, pocket full of cash, he's got to be just killing it. No, I'm working.
Yeah. Absolutely, dude. And it affects, I'm the same way as you because it affects your next day. That's what I got to point to, where I cut all that stuff like out of my life because it ruined the next day. And I'm like, dude, this is like, no, I can't afford that, dude.
Imagine you doing an episode,
Yeah.
you know, and you're sitting there and you're just like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you know what I mean? And then you got this influential guy going, what is this? Because you're the host of the show, right? You're
Yeah.
the personality. You got to make sure things are moving.
Yeah.
You're out till 4 o'clock in the morning. It's going to definitely show up in your next interview.
For sure.
But yeah.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. The last one I got for you is, where can our audience best find you online?
Yeah, so I have a website. It's just www.officialryanwhite.com. And then, of course, you know, you can connect with me on Instagram. My @ is just @RyanWhite. So RyanWhite.
Perfect. Thank you again, man. Really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it, man. I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to doing more things with you in the future.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.